Get ready for The Splash Live, Greater West Bloomfield's dedicated update show. Events, businesses, and people. Anything and anyone causing a ripple in the community. And now, let's dive in to The Splash Live.
Good morning and welcome to The Splash Live. I am Larry Nialan. A very happy Tuesday to all of you watching in West Bloomfield, Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, and Orchard Lake Village. I hope everyone had a great Labor Day weekend. The Splash Live is Greater West Bloomfield's daily TV and radio streaming show. Watch us live Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 10 a.m. on Civic Center TV, and also watch us on Comcast Channel 15, AT&T Channel 99, on the web at civiccentertv.com, on Civic Center TV's Facebook app, and you can even listen to us live on 89.3 Lakes FM. The Splash Live is part of Civic Center TV and Lakes FM's 90 minutes of live local programming. Well, taking a look at the weather today, it's going to be a cool start to the day, but warming up nicely with mostly sunny skies and a high of about 77. Tonight, we're going to be cooling to a fall-like 57 degrees, and then on Wednesday, mostly sunny again with a high of 77 degrees. Well, last Friday, the West Bloomfield Lakers football team played their first home game of the season, and after a bit of a slow start, West Bloomfield pulled away in the second half and posted a 33-14 victory over the Pioneers.
Well, after we watched some film, we got an idea what formations they ran, so that was critical to make sure you get the formations. One of the objectives of this week was try to establish the running game, and we have successfully done that. We wanted to get the ball to Jaws a little bit more so he can run inside. So last week when we played the first game, we had a few tackle for losses, missed assignments. But if you're going to win in this league, you got to be able to run the ball. So one of our objectives was to make sure we establish and maintain a strong running game.
That's a tough team, too. They came out of the gate firing on all cylinders. They came out of that game motivated and want to have a strong showing in their first game, really against an OAA opponent. And we saw that kind of happen, too, in week one against Sterling Heights-Stevenson, where your team got out and got behind a little bit. What do you say to your guys in the locker room, and what does your coaching staff say about the importance of coming out of the gate strong against these teams to prevent those sort of outcomes where you get behind by 7 points or maybe even more? And while this team's certainly talented and effective enough to come back from those deficits, the later you get in the season, the tougher that's going to be.
Well, it's going to be tough. Everybody's going to give us their best shot. We rank high. We got some pretty good players. And Harper was a very good team. We never underestimated them. What we saw on film, they were a solid team. They were the playoff contending team last year. And I think they're going to do well in the OAA. We had to make some adjustments because there were some things we didn't see on film. So once we saw that, particularly that first play, when a first touchdown run, we was out of position. And once we made those adjustments, we was able to shut the running down.
Joined by head coach Tyrese Grice on This Week in Laker Football. Your Lakers 2-0 as they head into OAA Red Division play this Friday at Rochester Hills, Stony Creek. Coach, you mentioned in week one you wanted to improve the running game. You even said Jaws had a much better game statistically in week two than in week one. What changed about that offensive front or about the offense in general that made the run game more effective against Harper Woods?
Well, we spent extra time in practice, made that period live so we get a little bit more physicality in the game. So that's something that was very intentional what we wanted to do, and we really worked on that. So going into the next week game, we're going to try to continue to establish the run game because at the end of the day, you got to run the football. I talked to the offensive staff, and I reminded them that when we went to the state championship, we didn't really have a strong quarterback play, but the running game was really very solid, and the running got us to the state championship. So we're going to try to have that balance this week where we're going to have a run and pass, but try to get the ball out to our playmakers and let them make plays.
We saw in your offensive scheme, you tried to become a little bit more versatile, a little bit different in what you had out there schematically, bringing more tight ends into play, seeing more targets for DeAndre Hill, more blocking schemes for Brendan Davis-Swain, adding to an already strong offensive line. What does that additional schematic advantage give to your team, especially as you're going up against some of the best D lines in the state in the OAA Red?
Well, we changed some, we added some formations this week, and we're going to continue to add formations. But week in and week out, that changes depending on who we play. It changes depending on what defensive front they may have. So each week we just try to modify some things, how we block things, and so when the team see it on film, is going to be different next week. So you may see some totally different formations next week, or more of one versus the other. So I think this week going in, we're going to just be solid in our blocking schemes, be solid in our inside runs, run a lot of double tight, and so we're going to try to get that ball up upfield as well. So it's fun to see something different week in and week out. One thing, it's hard to prepare for West Bloomfield because we run so many different formations, and we got so many guys, skilled guys on the outside. We got Samaj Morgan and those guys, Dre Hill. We want to get Dre Hill more into the passing game. And yes, Brandon Davis, one of our key blockers, but he also got good hands and he can catch the ball. But a lot of our guys, having Brandon and Amir next to each other blocking, that's a formidable offensive line blocking attack that we have. So that's something that we wanted to do. That was something strategic, and we're going to continue doing that so we can expand the running lanes to make sure we get upfield more.
We're joined by head coach Tyrese Grice on This Week in Laker Football. Coach Grice, in week 1, just 2 penalties for your team in total that entire game. The discipline was excellent. Week 2, for the most part, it was still quite on par with that, but there were significantly more penalties, including a couple of frustration penalties. We've seen in the past that's been a problem for your team, and it's in the past even put your team in some really tough situations. So as you're heading into OAA red play, how much more important does that become for your team to shore that up and really snuff out any of those frustration penalties in particular that we've seen be an issue in the past and kind of crept up in week 2?
Well, when you look at who we had in there depth-wise, we had a lot of our twos. And so we just got to make sure they're on the same page, make sure they line up properly, because in that game we had 3 back-to-back penalties, all legal procedures, which means they were all lined up wrong. So that's something we have to work on, and that just comes in practice and making sure they line up properly. So we make sure that going forward we try to eliminate that. What you don't want to have is pre-snap penalties. That's how you kill yourself. And we're going to work on this week to make sure we avoid those.
That was Laker coach Tyrese Grice and our own Tyler Keefe breaking down the 33-14 victory last week over Harper Woods. Be sure to tune in for full television coverage this Friday on Civic Center TV and West Bloomfield TV at 6:30 for Laker pregame, followed by the Lakers heading to Rochester Stony Creek to take on the Cougars live at 7 p.m. If you can't be around for the television coverage, then just tune in to 89.3 Lakes FM for all the action. And we are just 10 days away from the 11th annual Family Fun Night at West Bloomfield High School. The event is the pregame party before the big West Bloomfield-Clarkston battle at the Swamp. Our own Calvin Brown created a great promo for Family Fun Night. Let's take a look at that now.
Mark your calendars for the 11th annual Family Fun Night at West Bloomfield High School. Stop by on Friday, September 16th at 5 p.m. for an evening of free, fun activities as we honor our military, police, and fire heroes. Plus, stick around to see Laker football take on Clarkston at 7 p.m. To find out more, scan the QR code on your screen or visit wbsd.org/community/Family Fun Night.
Again, that's Friday, September 16th in the West Bloomfield High School parking lot. We will see you there. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk with the new principal at Gretchko Elementary in West Bloomfield, Jen Teal. That's next on The Splash Live.
We'll be right back with The Splash Live. Fire Prevention Week is just around the corner. Join volunteer, part-time, and on-call firefighters at this year's Fire Open House. Catch up on your fire safety knowledge with live demonstrations and hands-on activities. Chat with local businesses and resources about fire prevention, see some familiar faces, fight future fires, and make some new friends. The West Bloomfield Fire Open House, October 2nd from noon to 3 p.m. at Fire Station 1 on Orchard Lake Road.
In the face of COVID-19, staying healthy is important. And now the same is true as we face the flu. Influenza has the potential to infect millions, putting lives and the healthcare system at risk. Fortunately, it's easy to protect yourself. The flu vaccine is safe and effective, and with COVID-19 still spreading, it's essential. To see how you can hit this virus head-on, visit michigan.gov/flu.
Connect with local leaders, philanthropists, and more. The Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce presents the 2022 Leadership Breakfast. Join the Chamber for a morning of insight with guest speaker Laura Graneman, with the whole event emceed by Fox 2 News anchor Roop Raj. Join your local businesses at the Wabeat Country Club September 13th at 8:30 a.m. Order your tickets by September 6th at westbloomfieldchamber.com/breakfast. We'll see you there. And now, back to the Splash, live.
Welcome back to the Splash Live. I am Larry Nialan. Well, today kicks off week 2 for West Bloomfield schools being in session, and that means it's also week 2 of classes for our first guest. She is the principal of Gretchko Elementary, Jen Teal. Jen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. So could you start off by telling us about your background and how you came to be the principal at Gretchko?
Absolutely. This is my 22nd year in education. I started out in Bloomfield Hills School District, where I was an English language arts teacher. And I then became an instructional coach, an IB teacher leader, and then an associate principal at upper elementary and middle school, and was excited to take my next step in my kind of leadership journey. And I applied over here at Gretchko, and I'm very excited to be part of the West Bloomfield School District.
So I noticed that at Bloomfield Hills from 2020 to 2021, you were what was called the principal of Bloomfield Virtual. Now, I'm guessing that had something to do as a result of COVID-19. Can you tell us what Bloomfield Virtual was exactly, or is?
Absolutely. Yeah. So in response to the pandemic, we wanted to provide families an opportunity to stay virtual if that was what they wanted to do. And for our youngest learners, our kindergarten through 5th graders, we had a full school online, and it beyond our expectations. We had so many families that were interested that we actually had just shy of 700 students in that school. And I was the very proud principal that year of that virtual building. And we had our students were online with their teachers throughout the day. They had some time off screen, but it was live learning rather than kind of remote or parent learning at home. And so we were able to provide that for that school year. Bloomfield Virtual then continued for another year after that for a smaller number of students. About 100 students the second year. And at that time, I had moved on to become the associate principal at Bloomfield Hills Middle School.
So what did educators such as yourself learn in the past 2 years about teaching during COVID? Do you think that there's some aspects of things, the way you were doing things during that time, that are going to be a part of the normal curriculum now?
I do. I mean, I think, there's a silver lining, and one of the biggest components for me was the relationship with families. So we sort of we're thrown into people's living rooms, as it were, and families had this front row view of what school was about. And I think we learned a lot during that time about how much that helps our learners and our teachers. At the time, our staff had to be really vulnerable and had to put themselves out to be watched all day. And that's no small feat. There's very few professions where someone watches you do your job from start to finish each day. But what it also helped families to understand was that things perhaps look really different than they did when we were all in school. And so opening up that partnership and that level of communication was something that I hope we don't lose, helping families to understand what teaching looks like day to day and really engaging with them as partners. The other component that I think was great that I hope we don't lose sight of is the flexibility. So being able to use technology, being able to use platforms like Zoom to do a lot more interaction with people and places around the world and in different times, I think is valuable, especially for young kiddos who may not have an opportunity to see a whole lot outside of their neighborhood. And so I hope we hold on to that as we move forward as well.
So Jen, I did do a deep dive into your LinkedIn, and I found that some years ago you spent almost a year teaching English as a second language to students in the Czech Republic. Can you talk a little bit about that experience?
I did. You did do a deep dive. So in 2005 and 2006, I was very fortunate. The U.S. State Department at the time was still running their Fulbright teacher exchange program. And unfortunately, that part of the program is no longer funded. But at the time, you could apply as a U.S. teacher to spend a year abroad. And I applied and was granted that Fulbright exchange program. And so a teacher from the Czech Republic and I essentially swapped places for the year. And my husband and I lived in a small town called Boskovice, which was about 2 hours east of Prague and about an hour and a half north of Vienna. And I taught English to Czech students. I was actually teaching at a secondary technical school, so the students were anywhere from 16 to 20 years old. And most of them were learning English as part of their future professional life, wanting to make sure that they were marketable. And along the way, my husband and I also had to learn Czech. And so it gave me an incredible small window into what it's like to be a second language speaker in a country and in a place where the language that is spoken around you is not one that you know well. So we learned passable Czech by the time that we were leaving. We got ourselves a tutor and tried to make sure that we knew enough along the way. My students taught me a lot as well. And we were lucky to be able to experience definitely a lot about the culture there, as well as do a little bit of traveling locally. We really tried to stay in the Czech Republic to really get to know that culture and those communities that were right around us.
So do any of those students that you had at that time keep in touch with you at all?
The students don't, other than through things like LinkedIn. So every now and then, there'll be little things that pop up. They're all very much adults and in the working world at this point. And so every now and then, they'll post a new job or something like that, and we'll comment back and forth. And then there are a couple of the colleagues that I had over there that we still keep in touch with, who became good friends along the way. So that's been exciting and nice connections to continue have, even though the miles have separated us. We had hoped as a family to go back to the Czech Republic in 2020 to visit, and then the pandemic hit. So we're still hoping to find a time where we can go back. We haven't been back since 2006 when we came back.
Well, Jen, bringing it back to present day, you are the new principal at Gretchko Elementary. Could you talk a little bit about what attracted you about the opportunity to be a principal in the West Bloomfield School District?
Absolutely. My family lives in West Bloomfield, and one of the things that drew us here was the diversity that's really valued in West Bloomfield. And so the opportunity to lead in a community that has diversity in terms of racial diversity, economic diversity, language diversity, cultural diversity, all of those layers was really appealing to me. That's something I deeply value. And so leading a staff in a community of families that value that as well was something I was really excited about. And of course, West Bloomfield has a great reputation. The investment in education and the dedication to partnering with families and the programming that's available are all things that I'm proud to now call myself a part of. And so I knew that the Gretchko community certainly had a reputation of families that are really engaged and involved. And I love partnering with families. I believe that's one of the most important things, especially in early childhood education. So I was excited to put my hat in the ring for a community that really valued that.
And Jen, most of your recent work has been at the high school and the middle school levels, but has it been a bit of an adjustment to being around some kids who are just having their first experiences in a formal school setting?
Of course, it has been. The year that I was with Bloomfield Virtual, I had kindergarten through 5th grade, but of course we were all virtual. And I'm fortunate to have my own kids at home who are not too much past their elementary years, but it's definitely taken a little bit of adjustment. I think the first couple of days of arrival and dismissal are a good indicator of some of those differences of students being nervous and figuring out what school is all about. But I have to say that I've been pleasantly surprised by how mature even our kindergartners are and how ready they are to learn the routines and get used to school. So it's been really a pleasant surprise that it hasn't been all that different from the world of upper elementary and middle school. The same nerves and the same wonderings and the same excitement, just in smaller bodies.
Well, Jen, we want to welcome you to the West Bloomfield School District. I want to thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
That was Jen Teal, the principal for Gretchko Elementary School. And when we come back, we'll be talking with Lisa Brownlee from Spirit of Grace Church in West Bloomfield. That's next here on The Splash Live.
We'll be right back with the Splash Live.
Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick. The virus will die. It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer. Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine to keep safe and strong. Be happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Connect with local leaders, philanthropists, and more. The Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce presents the 2022 Leadership Breakfast. Join the Chamber for a morning of insight with guest speaker Laura Graneman, with the whole event emceed by Fox 2 News anchor Roop Raj. Join your local businesses at the Wabeat Country Club September 13th at 8:30 a.m. Order your tickets by September 6th at westbloomfieldchamber.com/breakfast. We'll see you there. And now, back to the Splash, live.
Welcome back to the Splash Live. I am Larry Nialan. Well, an estimated 35 million Americans, about 10% of the entire population, suffer from diabetes. For quite a while now, the folks at Spirit of Grace Church in West Bloomfield have been doing their part to help those who have to deal with this challenging condition. Joining us now is Lisa Brownlee, who is the group leader of the Diabetic Food Pantry at Spirit of Grace. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Hi, happy to be here.
Thank you, Lisa. So could you tell us about what inspired you folks at Spirit of Grace to help those in the community who have to deal with diabetes?
Well, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in December of 2020. And I know a lot of food pantries, regular pantries, do not have low sugar, low carbohydrates type foods for people that are diabetic. So I came up with the idea by starting a diabetic food pantry, and I talked to my church about it, and they said, well, let's give it a try. So I put in a proposal and they accepted it. And we started this 1 year ago this month, and we are coming up on our 1 year anniversary on September 17th.
So could you tell us exactly how does the Diabetic Food Pantry work? How do people go there? Are they eligible to get food? How does it work exactly?
Well, you have to be a diabetic in order to get the food. Caregivers can go and pick up the food and take them to the person that's the diabetic. And we provide diabetic-friendly foods like fruits and vegetables, non-perishable items, and like low sugar cereal, low sugar, no sugar added pasta sauce, oatmeal, canned fruits, low sugar canned fruits, low salt canned veggies. We have skinny popcorn for a snack. We have protein bars, protein drinks, sparkling water, bottled water, nuts. We have a lot of nuts that we give out. And we have a lot of fresh fruits and veggies. Our last pantry day, August 20th, we had 38 clients, and we had about 10 boxes of cucumbers, pickled cucumbers that were donated from the Oakland County Farmers Market. There's a farmer that we just started working with, Benson's Farmers. They're out located in Emily City. Brian and Bruce are the owners. So we started working with them like a month ago, and they are donating the leftover fresh fruits and vegetables from their market days on the third Thursday, which is 2 days before our pantry day, to the diabetic food pantry. And we had zucchini and we had a lot of stuff. So we just gave people extra. We just doubled up on giving them out cucumbers and zucchini. And then we also get stuff from Sprouts. And we also got stuff from Hospitality House, which is out in Commerce, and Metro Food Rescue that we're working with. And so we're getting sponsors, and so we're working with them, and we get donations from people in the community, and we also get monetary donations. I got a $50 cash donation from a client that came to the pantry on the last pantry day. He came in May to get food for his mother. He came back in August because he saw us doing the pantry day. So he stopped by and he walked into the church and he saw me and he wanted to give me a donation. So he gave me $50 in cash. And so that was a blessing because we sure needed it for the next pantry day.
Wow, that's a great story. So Lisa, so for diabetic patients or for caregivers of diabetics, do they have to call ahead and make an appointment, or can they just show up during the food pantry days?
They just show up. They just come, and it's a drive up. We don't check for registration because we're a special kind of unique food pantry for the diabetic community. We just want to help people, providing a healthy, nutritious diet for people that are diabetic that need help with food, with the right kinds of foods. And we do offer some education. We do put education materials in the food bags when people come and pick up food. And we're trying to schedule some classes through the MSU extension that we've had to reschedule from last spring. So we're working on that. But people, every month people get some education. We get recipes that we throw in there, articles about, what diabetes can do if you're not being careful. And I've got type 2, which is a better kind. Type 1 is not very good. So we do want to educate. Education and diet is very important. And we also offer foot care and dental care.
And Lisa, just a reminder, the days and times of the diabetic pantries for people to come up and show up and get some of those products?
Yes, it's every third Saturday of each month from 10 to 12.
Well, Lisa, we want to thank you and everyone there at Spirit Grace Church for all the work that you do to help those suffering from diabetes. It's greatly appreciated.
You're welcome. And we have our 1-year anniversary coming up, and we're going to have a celebration on September 17th from 12 to 2, a luncheon for the volunteers, the clients, the sponsors, and all the people that have been supporting us along the way. We are inviting them to come out and celebrate with us the 1-year anniversary of the Diabetic Food Pantry.
Well, good luck with everything, Lisa, and thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Looks like that's all the time we have here today. I am Larry Nialan, and we want to thank you for watching The Splash Live, Greater West Bloomfield's very own TV, radio, and streaming show. Watch us live Monday through Friday from 9:30 to 10 a.m. on Civic Center TV, and also listen to us live on 89.3 Lakes FM. West Bloomfield, we will see you tomorrow.